Hello, and welcome to the Homeschool Conversations Africa podcast. Here, we discuss homeschooling from the African perspective and the unique challenges that come with it.
If you're considering homeschooling, we hope to inspire you as you take this bold step. If you're already a homeschooler, we are here to share encouragement for this wonderful journey we are on to educate our children in the best way we can. We are your hosts, Jifa Andam and
Carissa Nete Mabel.
Let's dive right into today's conversation. Hello, dear friends. You're warmly welcome to Season 3 of the Homeschool Conversations Africa podcast. Before our first episode, Carissa and I want to take a moment to give thanks to God and to say a special thank you to you all for your constant support and encouragement. We certainly couldn't have made it this far without you. We trust that you're being encouraged, inspired, and maybe even challenged by the interviews and discussions that take place. We eagerly anticipate all that the season has in store for us. Remember to follow us on Instagram at Homeschool Conversations, on Facebook at Homeschool Conversations Africa podcast, and share these episodes far and wide. Thank you once again. Take care and God bless you. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Homeschool Conversations Africa podcast. We're excited to have you here with us again. Thank you for always tuning in. And today we're very privileged to have two of our friends with us who've already been on the show. It was great to have them when they came on. They were very resourceful, and we're glad to have them back with us today. And today is very special because I get to actually see and touch them. They're right next to me. Yeah. So they are Tomilola and Adesola. Tommy has two kids, two boys, 4 and 8 months. 5. He's 5. Oh, sorry. 5 and 8 months. And Adesola has 4-year-old boy, okay, and a 2-year-old girl. Yes, and today we're going to be talking about homeschooling little ones. Like, is that even, can you homeschool little ones? Yes, no, and if so, how do you go about it? So we thought they'll be the best people to have today to help us to have this discussion because they do it pretty well. They're both on Instagram. I'm sure some of you follow them, but if you don't, you can check out their pages on Instagram at the Cuddle Blog and at raisin.id. Okay, so we'll put them in the show notes as well. So welcome, ladies. We're glad to have you on the show with us today. Carissa is also here. As always, sorry, Carissa, you're far from us, but and just a little what should I say? Warning to our listeners: we are 4 moms on the show today, and we do have children. So if you hear some children, this is real. Yeah. So do bear with us. All right, so welcome. Carissa, do you have anything to say before you join the panel today?
No, just to say welcome to our two friends. It's good to have you back again.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we're going to get right to our very first question because we've received this question a number of times. People have written and asked this, and I know you have too. Adesola, have you told me about what to do? Like, people say, oh, I have an 18-month-old or I have a 15-month-old and I'd like to homeschool them. What do I do? Or what curriculum can I use or something like that? And the question has come up over and over again. So we thought that
we should just address it and talk about it. So my first question to you ladies, all you three ladies, since it's been so long since I was there. Just kidding. Can you homeschool a toddler?
Tell me first.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Can you speak a bit more on that for us?
So if it's possible to homeschool a toddler, yes. I mean, I think they're the ones that need the most guidance, I think. So yeah, it's possible. And what will come next will be, what do you do?
So can you homeschool a toddler? I don't know. Sometimes I kind of feel like a bit of an imposter when I say I'm a homeschooler, because I don't feel like my children are of school age yet. So my children are 4 and 2, and in the UK, where I was brought up, children start school at the age of 6, and a lot of Europe. So for me, we're just living life, really. You know what I mean? We're learning through, just living life. So I don't really see what we're doing at this age as homeschooling in that sense. You know what I mean? So yeah, for me, it's like this is just time to help them, see the world as it is and learn simple, basic skills like walking and talking and seeing the world around them. And yeah, so for me, I wouldn't really class it as schooling yet in that sense. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Carissa, what's your take?
I think I agree to some extent with Adesola. Because they're so young, I mean, there's only so much that you can do. A lot of the time they want to just be on their own and, explore and, do things. But I do think that you can do certain things with them if you have, you can do certain things with them with intention. I think you can be intentional about the things that you expose them to. I think you can be intentional about the experiences that they have and some of the skills that they pick up even from a young age. So I think that there are certain things that you can do, but it's definitely not going to look anything like a child that is like 6 or 7 that is in school, right? So.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so what I'm hearing is, I think the question then is what you define homeschooling as, right? So some of us may see homeschooling as when like some sort of formal education starts, or some sort of structured education starts. But if somebody just sees it as things they do with their kids at home that they are intentional about, then they may think that that's homeschooling. Yes. So it really depends on how you define it. But whether you call it homeschooling or not, I think the spirit behind the question is people do want to see their children develop. People want to be sure that they're giving their kids the best that they can. So the question still stands. What do we do with kids who are that young? How do we help them to develop to the max, to grow as well as they can? Yeah. What are some things that you ladies have done, or even if you haven't done it, but you can share with us? Let's just get right into it.
Okay. So I would say that most especially because of the climate that we're in, a lot of Nigerians, I don't know a lot about the whole of Africa, but for Nigerians, I know that, and plus the ones I've interacted with, everybody wants to just say, okay, give me what to do. What can I do? And I think dependent on you have to have known what you're doing first before you say, I don't see it as homeschooling at this age, right? But there are people that they just want to, like, what do you want me to do? And for that, I would say first, children that age, they need structure. And by structure, I don't mean strict, wake up 8 o'clock. I don't mean time-based structure. I mean structure in the sense that just have something like a schedule.
Like a routine.
Like a routine. Like a routine. More of a routine than just saying, they have to wake up at 8 or they have to wake up at 9 or be at swimming at 10 and all of that. Maybe not all of that. But you can have swimming. Yeah. But we have swimming every Thursday. We go out every Friday at whenever, but we go out every Friday. That's what I mean by structure. So have a new structure around what your children do, especially at that age. So even they're waking up, there should be what comes next. What comes next. So not necessarily by timing, but this comes next. So you give them a sense of belonging. You give them that structure that they need, even as toddlers, because they really do need the structure. Because if you notice with toddlers, if they don't have that structure, they are more cranky. They are more all over the place, right? So I believe, first of all, most important thing is have a structure around whatever you're doing, regardless of whatever homeschool route you're taking, like whether you're homeschooling or you're doing school at home or whatever, that structure is really, really important. Yeah.
That's true. That's true. You make a great point, because children they like to be free, but within that freedom, they still do want some boundaries. And yes, and so that's excellent. Adesola, do you want to add anything?
What was the question again? Sorry.
Okay, so how can we do that? How can parents help their kids? Parents are thinking, I have a 1.5-year-old.
Yes.
What can I do?
So, from when I was pregnant, I already started reading books to baby in my belly, and it's something that has been a constant. Even from moving from the UK to Nigeria, reading and books has been a constant in our daily life. It's something that my kids love. They're not reading yet, and I'm not worried. I'm not worried about it either, and you shouldn't be either, parents. My son is 4, and he's memorized his favorite books, but and he's eager about learning, but he's not reading fluently yet. And Tommy's points about structure are very important. We slow school, so it's a very loose structure, but we definitely have a routine that we follow. It's normally they wake up when they're ready, and not most days by 10 a.m. we're out of the house. And as Carissa mentioned about being intentional about the experiences that we expose our young people to, I think it's very important that that's part of what's helping them to grow and develop as well. So you as a parent have to be very conscious and intentional on what your children are see, what's the way to help them develop really in the early years, I think.
Thank you. So you ladies make a great point, and I like that you mentioned the context that we find ourselves. So it's not just Nigeria. I think it's other African countries too, where you have preschools already, and people, for one reason or another, do send their kids to school at age 1, 1.5, and 2. And I think the schools to feel like they have to show what they're doing, right? So they're teaching kids, like you said, there's a lot of pressure to know how to write your letters or know how to read by, whatever early age. So there's that, competition out there. So I want you ladies, Carissa, all of you to convince parents, please. Because when people ask, okay, maybe I'm on the other side right now a little bit. I just want to tell people, relax, like just let your child play, but please help me. Let's convince parents that it is okay, because they, you look around and you do see your friend's child who goes to school and they're like, oh, they're 3 and they're reading or they're, and there's that pressure. People do feel like, oh my goodness, my child is behind or they're not gonna, know anything. So what do you ladies have to say about this?
Marissa? So I think I can definitely understand and empathize with parents who feel like that, because I feel like that a lot of the time too. But I've realized that, it's much easier to teach a child something when they're like 6 or 7 than when they're like 2. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I do think you can still do certain things, bit by bit. You can introduce them to certain things at a gradual pace. But by the time they're like 7, their reasoning capacity is like much, much higher for like, and so it doesn't take as much time or as much effort or energy for them to learn certain things. So I can understand. And I think sometimes if parents feel like they need to do something, maybe then they should do something, right? Because I think a lot of times we don't want to feel like we're just wasting away the time or like the years. I think we all feel like, okay, maybe you should be doing something profitable, like not just like running around the house all the time. So I feel like if parents feel like they need to do something, then they should do something. But then you just have to adjust your expectations that this is a 2-year-old or this is a 3-year-old, and they only have like a 5 or 10 minutes attention span. And so what you can do in that time is a lot less, than what you can do with an older child.
Yeah.
And I've like in talking to and speaking with like older children, I realized that, it's all a matter of time, and everything will kind of fall into place. I mean, even with her, like when she was younger, you worry about certain things like, okay, is she going to do this? Like, is she going to figure it out? And then, all of a sudden she's figured it out. And then you realize like, you just have to be patient. Like growing takes time. Yes. So you kind of just have to like relax and realize that, okay, they will get it in time. But I guess I totally can understand, and I can definitely relate. Like we all want our children to be prodigies. Like, okay, they were, playing the guitar at 3 and reading at 3 and doing all of that. So I can understand why parents feel like they need to do all of the things. But yeah, I think it's all just with time, everything comes together with time.
Thank you. Thanks for that encouragement. It reminds me of potty training, when I was potty training the kids. So with my oldest, there were some family members and friends who were just like, she has to be potty trained by like 1 and something. And I was doing it and I tried, but it was so frustrating, right? Because she wasn't ready. And then I think eventually, we got it done. But by the time I got to my second child, I had read somewhere like it's best to wait till they're ready and then try it. And lo and behold, that was like such a quick process, So I really learned from that, this whole thing about there's a time when children are ready for something. I mean, you can keep presenting opportunities, for them, right? You make things available. But yes, it's so much easier when they're ready instead of fighting your way through. So Yeah. What have you had any experiences like?
Yeah. So what I would say to that is that know your child. It's very important to know your child because the idea at the end of the day is you're not forcing a child to do what they're not ready to do. If your child is ready at 3 years old to read, you wouldn't stop the child, right? Yeah. So, but what we see is that the schools are just giving a blanket statement to all the children and saying they must read at so and so, and they must read at this, or they must write at this. But if your child is ready to write at 3 or 4, and they are showing the interest, then you can go ahead. That will now inform what you're presenting to the child. But you're not forcing the child to say, this is the time you should do this, or this is the time you should do that. My son is 5. Well, you say your son, so my son is 5. He doesn't read, he doesn't write. Right? So somewhere like, oh, they give him a pen to write your name, and my son's like, and I was like, oh no, he doesn't write yet. And they're like, oh, okay. It's not such a big deal. But if you meet my son, the last thing you'll be thinking about is if he's reading or writing.
That's true.
The last thing you'll be thinking about is if he's reading or writing. And so for me, it is do away with the blankets or the curriculum says that the next thing is reading. Or at 4 years old, the next thing is writing. What I tell people to focus on is what they are developmentally ready to do. So, for example, if you Google what should my 3-year-old be doing, or developmentally, right? Not academically. So developmentally, they should be able to maybe walk backwards, or they should be able to jump on one feet. So what are the things that you can do to enhance those things that he should or she should be doing developmentally, right? So they talk about the 5 skills that, toddlers and children should have. The fine motor skills, the gross motor skills. Those for me are more important when they're toddlers than just saying, oh, this is the academic part. So it's finding activities around those things and presenting them to the child, ensuring that your environment at home is conducive enough for your child to explore, and you're not just shouting, no, don't touch this every time. Is your environment at home? Do you have enough books, like Adesola said? Do you have enough books that are low that your child can go and pick up? Are there different resources that you see that, okay, until your child sees maybe a map somewhere, he can then be interested in a map. But if not, how will he know a map exists? He wouldn't. But if you create your environment such that there's everything, of course, gradually you accumulate as you go on. You can't get everything because they do get expensive. But once you start, building up your library, building up the resources that are in the house, toys, educational toys, open-ended toys that are in the environment. So you're not forcing your child, right? It's already there in the environment. So they can go pick it up and say, then they can start asking questions. Oh, what is this? What is that? Why is this and why is that? And when, your son came here now, I was asking about the microphone. But if the microphone wasn't there, he wouldn't ask about it. Yes. So it's just basically that your environment can then inform what you do. So present various opportunities for your child to be able to see that this is possible in the world. Then they can now ask questions. Then their interest can continue to grow. But if they don't see it, they won't know. Some people's way of doing it is by going out, like Adesola, they go to different places. They see different things, then they can ask questions, like, oh, this and that. Then you're always there to answer the questions. And that's how they learn. Yeah. So for me, that's it. Ensure that the environment is conducive enough for your child to explore. And if your child is ready for it, don't stop them. Yeah.
Thank you. That's great.
Adesola, and maybe even Carissa too afterwards, since you ladies have kids who are 2, I would like you to speak about what you do with an 18-month-old, just kids around that age, between 1 and 2, because I feel like it's easier with the 3, 4, 5-year-olds. I don't know. I'm thinking there's
I'm thinking you can find much more. Okay, here's this puzzle, do it.
It shows that you're
Okay. Maybe it's not that easy, but so what do you do with those the little ones, the little ones?
Yes. So initially, we started off very Montessori led, which meant that I presented just simple activities like we had a bookshelf of 6 blocks, and there'll be 6 different activities on that shelf for the child to explore by themselves. And this starts from when they start crawling and they can reach the bottom shelf. So it would be something very simple. Maybe it's just something touchy-feely. You can have little sensory baskets. You can put different colors and things for them to just explore and start working with their senses. So that was 0 to 3 years. And also, me and Tommy, we also do circle time, which is in the early years, their attention span is a few minutes. So you're looking at, maybe you'll get through a few nursery rhymes together. You'll try, you'll do a story, and maybe you'll introduce them to some simple things like colors, alphabets. You can sing the alphabet song, sing 1 to 10, and it's just something to start giving them that idea of structure and start learning in that way. And I think that's an easy kind of thing to put into your routine. It doesn't have to be more than 5 minutes. And I think it's a nice way to start with the younger years. If you want to do something, if you feel like you need to do something practical with your 0 to 3 years. That's how we started, and that's how my children learned the basics. Anyway.
Thank you. Do you have a link that maybe you could share with us? That when you talked about the station.
Yes, I will share some.
Maybe we could include that to give people a better idea, since they can't see pictures or anything.
Yeah, sure.
Carissa, do you have any here?
Yeah. I feel like I have a lot to say. My answer is going to be very long. So I think one big thing for me in the beginning was something I read by Charlotte Mason, which says that a child is a person. And in the beginning, when I read it, it didn't really seem to make a lot of sense. But when I had my daughter, I realized that I needed to see her as a full and complete individual and treat her with respect as such. I needed to understand her as a person, give her the same considerations that I would give an adult. I needed to speak to her with respect. I needed to see her like not like just like an afterthought, or just somebody that's just around drinking breast milk all the time. So I think one big thing for me was even where I went from when she was a baby, I would speak to her like I was speaking to anybody else. I would speak to her like she understood. I would speak to her like she understood me. I would, as we go along throughout the day, I would narrate what I was doing with her. Okay, this is a ball, this is a chair, I'm changing a diaper now. All of those things, I think they helped her a lot in terms of building up her vocabulary. And I think at a very young age, when you're a mother, I feel like you can see things about your child that other people may not necessarily see. And I feel like from a very young age, I could see that like thing in her eye, like she understood me or she got me, So that's one thing. In the beginning, we also started up very Montessori, but we kind of had to tweak the Montessori to suit us, in the sense that with Montessori, there's a lot of like material that you have to get. And on this side of the world, getting those things is not always the cheapest thing. So, we got some of the things. I feel like there are some cute like Montessori toys that are very helpful when they're like 0 to 1 years to build like fine motor skills and, you know, learn like cause and effect and things like that. So yeah, if you can get some of those toys, I think I will suggest that you do. And because they're made out of wood, they usually tend to last a lot longer, so you could pass them on to other children. But I realized that we were kind of Montessoriing in our own way at home with the things that we had available to us.